Chaim. Tonight's shir is also dedicated to my grandfather's Yahrtzeit. His name was Rabbi Yehуда ben Rabbi Moshe Yaakov. The anniversary of passing was today. Chaim, Shalom and Aliyah.
Amen.
Be good the better for all his family, for all good. Sechla Yisrof, all Am Yisrof. Chaim. Amen. I had a very unique relationship with my grandfather. He had 5 sons, but they said that his favorite son was me. That's what they said. I was his grandson. They said that I was his favorite son. He told me, you always have good ideas, but there's always a screw missing. Great ideas, but very often there's a screw missing. So I want to talk about the idea tonight of dreams, of ambitions, of vision. If someone is a dreamer, so it evokes, on the one hand, it evokes inspiration. On the other hand, a dreamer also evokes scorn. Someone's a dreamer, that means they're not being practical, not being realistic. And so, what's the correct attitude? Many people live in this world. Not everyone who is in this world is really alive. If you don't have a dream, can't really say that you're really alive. It's your dream that gives you the energy, that gives you the vitality, that gives you the animation, makes you really alive.
Lionel Barrymore said, "You're only old when regrets take the place of dreams."
Wow. Okay. So the question is, what is the correct attitude towards dreams? We know that the dreams are important. Yosef Hatzadik is called the dreamer, and all the Jewish people are called by the name of Yosef. Their dreams are there, but on the other hand, there's another word which seems to be more relevant. That's the word vision. So, what's dreams? What are dreams? What is vision? And what is the place of each of those things in our lives? And how are we supposed to relate to this? So, in this week's Torah portion, we find the correct attitude towards dreams. Dreams and visions, and get a very great harmonious picture in our lives. In Kabbalah, beauty is Ferret. Ferret is a divine energy which has 2 opposing kinds of godly energy in it. Beauty is created by color. You're going to see 2 opposite points, diametrically opposite points, which bring home exactly where we're supposed to be vis-a-vis dream and vision. Just to give a context before we begin, my grandfather, he was sent by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe to Worcester, Massachusetts, and when he was sent there, he had formidable challenges. He lived in the Kiddush Room of the Beth Judah, literally, that's where he and his wife lived, and it wasn't as glamorous as our Kiddush Room. It was worse, it was smaller, and that's where they lived. And the people of the synagogue wanted to evict them from that room as well, because they felt like it was inappropriate. What are they doing in our Kiddush Room? Why are they living in our Kiddush Room? My grandfather.
That was the bedroom?
That was their bedroom, that was their shower, that was everything. Yeah. That's where they lived. So that was their living room, that was their dining room, except for on Shabbos when everyone had to share it with everybody else. So they asked my grandfather, besides everything else, he was dealing with a lot of hatred, a lot of opposition, a lot of angst, a lot of frustration. Besides the enormous load of just living in the dire conditions he was living in, besides that, there was also so much negative energy he had to deal with. So he met the Rebbe for a private audience with his wife, and the Rebbe gave him the following analogy. The Rebbe said there was an advisor to, I think it was Emperor Leopold, of what was the name of the empire? I don't remember. Some empire, probably Baruch knows. Emperor Leopold, no? Prussia? Something confusing like that. Anyway, so Emperor Leopold had a advisor. His name was Rabbi and Spiritual, who was a genius rabbi, and all the other advisors of the king were very jealous that a Jew was chosen to be his top advisor. So all the other advisors said to the king, "Your Majesty, it's not fair that you pick a Jew to be your advisor." So the king said, "We're going to make this fair. We're going to make a plan that everyone's okay with. We're going to have a chicken race. Whoever's chicken runs the fastest, that's the top advisor for me." Which would be so amazing if this country would employ that system. It's so much more sophisticated than the current system we have today. Anyways, so all of the ministers choose very large, strong chickens to represent them in this race. Rabbi Yonason chose a small little chicken. It's interesting, my grandfather's last name was Fogelman, and Fogelman means birdman. I wonder if that's may be connected to the Rebbe's example. But either way, the race begins, and all the chickens start fighting with each other. And while they're fighting with each other, Rabbi Yonasson's chicken will march straight to the finish line. And he was chosen as the king's top advisor. The message I was telling my grandfather is, focus on where you need to go. Focus on the goal. Don't worry what everyone says. Pay no attention to what they say. Focus on where you need to get them. So this will give us a context to begin the discussion tonight of this week's Torah portion. This week we read about Korach. Korach on the surface was jealous because he was not chosen for the position of leadership, and he began a rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu. Korach brought 250 people who were, each of them was the head of a Jewish court, the most prominent leaders of Jewish people, together with him to go and contend with the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu and the priesthood of Aaron HaKohen. They come to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, we're going to do the following. We're going to have a way to tell who is God has chosen. Everyone who feels that they should be the one chosen, they should be the Kohen Gadol, they should bring incense as an offering to God. And whoever God chooses, he will be the one. Whoever is not chosen, ... But then Moshe adds 4 words. The words he adds are the discussion of tonight. He says to them, Rav lochem b'nei Levi. Isn't this enough for you, children of Levi? On the surface, he was telling them, you guys are already part of the tribe that serves in the temple. Why aren't you satisfied with where you have been chosen? Isn't that enough for you? The Talmud in Sota says that Moshe Rabbeinu, he notified them with the words Rav lochem. He told them it's enough for you. And he was told those same words by God many years later, 40 years later, when Moshe Rabbeinu brought the Jewish people to the border, the very edge of the land of Israel, and he prayed to God to be allowed to enter Israel, and God didn't allow him to enter Israel. He prayed 550 times, the Talmud says, and he probably prayed even more, the Rebbe says, and he prayed and prayed, asking God to let him into Israel, and God said, Rav lach, stop, enough, this is enough for you, enough.
I think it's 515.
Right, that's what I said. But the Rebbe said he probably didn't stop, even though Hashem told him to stop, which is another discussion. But anyway, so he prayed that many times, and Hashem didn't let him come into Eretz Yisrael. And the Talmud says he bisar lahem. He told Korach those words, and those were the words that were told to him. So it's very funny. Korach, it seems, he was doing something very wrong, very horrible. He was rebelling against the one that God had chosen to be the prophet of Hashem. Whereas Moses, he was trying to fulfill his mission in this world, to bring the Jewish people to Israel, to continue leading the Jewish people selflessly as he has done his whole entire life. Moshe Rabbeinu was the one who asked God, erase me from your book, forgive the Jewish people. So he has a whole different agenda, or he does not have an agenda when he wants to go to Eretz Yisrael. He just wants to go with the Jewish people into Israel. So how can the Talmud compare Moses' instruction to Korach to God's instruction to Moses? They seem to be completely different kinds of instruction. And also, the Talmud uses a funny word for the words to describe the words that Moses said. The Talmud says God told him the news. In Hebrew, the words for news, there are different ways of saying news. Besura always means good news. Most often it means good news. Besura means a besura toiva, a good piece of news. Most often, that's the word you would choose if you wanted to say good news. Like New York Times would never be called Surah. Never. Anyways, so Moshe Rabbeinu is told good news. You're not going to go into Israel? That's good news. Why is it good news? Moses told Korach, why are you guys doing this? That's he's rebuking them. Why is it called good news? What does that mean? So,
use the word Besurah, is that what you're saying?
Yes. B'rav loch bisar lahem or b'rav loch bisruhu. With the words Rav Lach, it's enough for you. He told that to them, and that's the words he was told as well. So this week is Gimel Tammuz, the Rebbe's Day. I'm going to see 2 angles to explain those words. 2 angles which are very seemingly variant, or maybe even diametrically opposed approaches to these words. And yet, in the Rebbe, you see how these 2 points are completely harmonious, and they're not a contradiction at all. And on the contrary, each point not only does not contradict the other point, it supports it in a way that brings a synergy and in our lives. Two points which are really, really important for us to have in our lives, which will give us the right vision and the right dream and the right approach to life. After the Holocaust, when the Rebbe began his leadership in 1951, the Jewish world was totally destroyed. And the Rebbe began the first farbrengen, the first discourse, with giving the Jewish people a vision. Ufaratzta, basi lagani, we are going to bring the coming of Mashiach. We're going to spread the Torah everywhere. We're going to do this. We're going to create communities around the world. And what the Rebbe said was prophetic in a way that, in the language of, probably doesn't want to be quoted, of messianic proportions. Already messianic proportions. Besides bringing about the actual coming of Mashiach, which is we're going to see that happen as well. But besides that, the Rebbe's words are unbelievable. And you could think of where the Rebbe was when he said those words, and what Chabad was when he said those words, and where those words have been realized throughout the world in any place you could possibly think of. It's unbelievable. Rabbi Moshe Levin, the famous Rosh Hashiva, he once went with his students to the Kotel Marabi, and at the Kotel there was a mitzvah tank. There were some Chabad boys putting on tefillin with people, and people were lining up to put on tefillin. Rabbi Moshe Levin stopped, and the students he stopped. Why do you stop? You stop. You want to watch the Chabad boys put on tefillin with people. I heard this from someone who was there. He's watching them put on tefillin with people, and he says to them, "This is unbelievable." He says, "Who would have thought that these people who are not religious at all would line up to put on tefillin?" He says there are many people, many tzaddikim, many righteous people who believe in Hashem, but the Rebbe is unique in that the Rebbe doesn't just believe in Hashem. The Rebbe believes in Hashem's children. The Rebbe was able to see the potential of these Jews, and no one would think for a second they would line up to put on tefillin. No one would imagine that. Yet the Rebbe sees that in these Jews that no one would have imagined such a thing. So this is something that is very relevant to where we're going. When Moshe told Korach, Rav Lach, what was he telling Korach? Rabbi Zusha Vanapoli, he said, when I pass away and I go to the heavenly court and they ask me, why weren't you like Abraham? I'm not afraid of that question. I'm not Abraham. If they ask me, why weren't you like Isaac and Jacob? I'm not afraid of those questions either. I'm not Isaac, I'm not Jacob. I'm only afraid of one question. Why weren't you Daniel Nambar? Zusha, why weren't you who you are? That's a question I'm afraid of. Because that's the one a person I'm meant to be. His father said to his son, he said, my son, if I can give you one gift, no gift I want to give you, if I can give you one gift I can give you, what would I want to give you? A car, a house, a plane, a job, a spouse. The one thing I want to give you, my son, if I give you anything in the world, I want to give you the ability to see yourself the way Hashem sees you, the way Hashem sees how special you are and how perfect you are, 100% for the role that you have to fulfill in this world. How you have unique, amazing strength, amazing gifts, uniquely to you, to be able to be where you are. A lot of people, they hate themselves. They hate themselves, they don't even realize they hate themselves because they wish they were someone else. There was a guy who was crying when Baron Rothschild passed away, very wealthy man. He was crying. People said, why are you crying? Are you related to Rothschild? He said, no, I'm crying because I'm not related to Rothschild. He wishes he was related. He get part of the inheritance. I'm crying because I'm not related to Rothschild. If you feel that you need to be like a Rothschild in order to fulfill your life's dream, you're looking, your barometer of who you are still on the outside, it leaves you very unhappy. It leaves you with a sense of guilt and it paralyzes you. Your barometer of where you're meant to be is by someone else's Give you an example. Yankel was a bit of an interesting fellow. He was afraid when he goes swimming. He was afraid when he comes out after the shower, he's not going to know if it's him or not. So what did Yankel do? He put on a red string on his wrist to make sure that he knew it was him. So if he goes in the shower, comes out after the shower, he knows I'm the guy. So he goes in the shower and he goes in with his, but he goes into this. He goes swimming and he's swimming really well, and the red string comes off. Another guy is swimming, and he's a red string. No, that's nice, that nice string. He puts it on, and the Yankel goes in the shower and he's like, he doesn't see the string. So who is he? He's not Yankel. He doesn't have the string, and he sees this other guy has the string. So he says, I know who you are. Can you tell me who I am? Think about Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu, he was very, very wealthy. He got a lot of wealth and resources from his father. And then Yaakov's brother Esav sought to kill him. Yaakov goes without, he escapes his brother Esav, but Esav's grandson Eliphaz chases after Yaakov, and he threatens to kill him. Yaakov says to him, listen, the Torah says that a poor person is considered like that. Take away all my resources, all my money, and I'll be considered if you killed me. Eliphaz agrees. He takes away everything from Yaakov. Yaakov crosses the river with his only one thing, with just a staff. And then, think about it in a simple way, not anything deep. He has absolutely come from the richest family in the world to have absolutely nothing. So poor is he. When he comes across, he doesn't have any compass or way to know where to go. He's stuck over there in the middle of the wilderness, and he has all these wild animals, and the only thing he can use to protect himself are these stones he's going to put around his head. What a poor state he is in. And what does Yaakov see in this very poor state that he's in? What does he envision in this very poor state? In this very poor state he's in, the poorest state imaginable, going from the richest and the highest echelons of affluence in the world to the lowest possible stoop of poverty in the world. What does Yaakov see? He sees a ladder, the ladder of God. And he says, God is in this place. What was he saying?
Rabbi Levin, sorry to interrupt. If you can input into the statement, Yaakov Avinu, he grew up with the Tzaddik Ador, and his grandfather was also the Tzaddik Ador, and on top of that, he went to 14 years of yeshiva to fortify him. So I don't mean to throw a curveball. What should the rest of us who are not,
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up.
Not to throw a curveball.
It's not a curveball. This is exactly the point what you said. Yaakov is in the lowest state of poverty, dramatically thrown off the ladder, and yet what does Yaakov see in his challenge? This challenge is a ladder of God. This is Ein Zakim Bais Elokim. This place, doesn't mean the physical place he is in. He looked at the challenge that he was in, and he says, this exact circumstance that I'm in, this is the place of the ladder of Hashem. This is the place where I need to be. This circumstance, the exact circumstance that Hashem has made for me, that is exactly where I rise. That's exactly where I ascend to the highest of places. This is where the ladder of Hashem is. Instead of looking at someone else and judging yourself by someone else, Yaakov said exactly where Hashem has placed me with the exact circumstances he's in. That's where his elevation is. And that is a message for all of us who are children of Yaakov, that we need to realize that, unlike Korach, who felt, I need to be like Moshe Rabbeinu, I need to be like Aaron HaKohen, I need to be different, if only things were changed for me. Moshe said to him, Ravlach, what are you talking about, Korach? You know who you are, Korach? You have so much going for you, Korach. You have so much in you, Korach. And we do the same thing. You have to look in the mirror and give yourself a hug. To give your neshama a little bit of confidence, a little bit of good feeling, a little bit of looking at yourself and realize how amazing you are and all the brachas you have. And should I pick on you? And you? No, I don't pick on you. Yes.
This was yesterday's Yom Yom.
Oh, thank you for mentioning that Yom Yom.
Satisfied, though.
Very good. Okay, very good, very good, very good. I'm glad you brought that up. Today is a Yom Yom. It seems to contradict what we're saying tonight. In the Yom Yom, it says that the Alter Rebbe met this young man who said to the Alter Rebbe, "What am I missing in this world?" He seemed to be doing really well. He was a brilliant genius. The Alter Rebbe said, "You're not missing anything." But the Alter Rebbe said that the physical and the spiritual are opposite in their very essence. What is considered a virtue in the physical is considered a deficiency in the spiritual. When regarding the physical, a person has to be happy with their lot. And a person who's happy with their lot, they're able to reach the highest of spiritual levels. But regarding the spiritual, regarding the physical, regarding the spiritual, you have to look at people who are higher than you and learn from them and go to a higher level. So now you brought that. Sounds like you are meant to Korach should be jealous and should want to be someone else. However, there's a big difference between believing in where Hashem has placed you in the world and knowing that Hashem wants you to be where you are and learn from someone else as it applies to you, as opposed to feeling that you're not meant to be where you are. That you're not really safe, you're not really good, you're not really okay, because you're not where you're meant to be. There's a difference. You could learn from someone else. You could aspire to be something. You could aspire from their world and what's going on in their world, what you could learn from them in your world. But your world is your world and their world is their world. You can't exchange your world for someone else's world. You have to learn and aspire from the way someone else runs their ship, but at the same time to know that your ship is your ship and their ship is their ship. You don't have the same ship. Korach was not meant to be Moshe Rabbeinu. Korach was not meant to be Aaron HaKohen. Korach had his unique role in the world, and it was very special, and it's something that only he could do. The Shiltei Geburim says that when the Leviim, it's unbelievable, when the Leviim would play their instruments in the temple, he said every Levi had only one note that they would play. Can you imagine the kind of harmony they had to create that for everyone only play one note? It's unbelievable. There's so many notes, and everyone will only play one note. So you obviously are only meant to play your note. You're not supposed to play someone else's note. At the same time, you look at the way someone plays their note and learn how to play your note even better. Look at the way someone puts their heart and soul in their note and say, "Oh, I need to put myself more into my note." But don't exchange their note for your note. You have your note and they have their note. Don't change your world. Hayom Yom is not saying that we should exchange our position for someone else's. Hayom Yom is saying that we should learn from the way people aspire spiritually, how we should live in a higher spiritual of ourselves, but not to chas v'shalom, not accept what Hashem has placed for you in the circumstances that you're in to be. So the issue that Korach had was that he did want to exchange his life. He felt, I'm not okay where I am. And there is a saying in the world today which is almost correct, but it's really wrong. Today's cancel society says, be who you are. Just be who you are. And it sounds very noble and very right. Isn't that what I'm just saying? Be who you are? If someone gets angry and they say, why'd you get angry? He says, that's who I am. That's who I am. It sounds right? It sounds like, that's who I am. When a person, what's the depth of the words, that's who I am? Think about those words. Let's stop for a second. Let's think for those. What does it mean when someone says, that's who I am? You know what that means? Deep down, the person is saying to himself is, I am an animal. An animal, when an animal is born, can never change to be anything else than what it was born to be. It's an animal. It wasn't. It may be a little bigger when it dies, a little fatter, will walk a lot of miles. But the animal is the animal, and the animal cannot change. The animal is meant to be an animal. It can't be. Animal can be any different than an animal. As opposed to a human being who is given intelligence, is meant to aspire and meant to grow, and you're not supposed to just give in to every whim you have because that's how you feel. No, Hashem has given us the ability to be the best that we're meant to be. Not to stay with the same whims and desires and just go with the flow and just do whatever you feel like doing. That's not living your best. That's not what Moshe Rabbeinu meant when he said, Rav, look, it's enough for you. Moshe Rabbeinu said, it's enough to be who you're meant to be your best, but not to, in other words, not to succumb to mediocrity. Don't give in to mediocrity. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu was saying. He wasn't saying, give in to every whim that you have. He's saying, don't succumb to mediocrity, be your best, but at the same time, don't hate yourself. Don't hate yourself because you're not Rothschild. Don't hate yourself because you want to be someone else. If someone has this picture of themselves that their life is cloudy, partially cloudy, fully cloudy, they have to turn around and they have to start hugging themselves and looking at themselves and say, this is exactly where I'm meant to be, in this place where I'm in. This is the most beautiful place. This is the ladder to Hashem. Hashem gave me the staff to go out of Egypt. I am holding the staff of Hashem where Hashem is placed. That's the first interpretation of Rav. That's a Moshe was telling Korach according to one interpretation. Now let's flip this and go a whole other interpretation, but you'll see it's not a contradiction. There's the Kiddush Room, Yahrtzeit. They say this. They say Korach actually wanted the world to be like the coming of Mashiach. He wanted the world to be like Mashiach will come, where no man will have to teach another man. Everyone will know Hashem perfectly. We'll all know God in a perfect way. And that's why the word tzaddik, hatamar yifrach, the tzaddik will rise like a date palm, the tzaddik will flourish and blossom like a date palm. The last letter of those three words spells Korach. That's what Korach wanted. The coming Mashiach, when the tzaddikim and all the Jewish people will rise, don't have to teach each other. It'll just be a beautiful era where everyone will know themselves, not having to resort to learning from anyone else. But the problem is, we weren't there yet. We weren't there yet. So that's why the end of the word tzaddik tamar yifrach is Korach. Korach had a vision for the future, but Korach was trying to bring the future into the present. He had this amazing dream, but it wasn't real. And Moshe Rabbeinu, when he told Rav, don't stop, there was an issue with that. And Hashem sort of rebuked him, whatever that means. It's not for us to measure Moshe Rabbeinu, but we are supposed to measure this for ourselves, to know for ourselves what exactly, according to the Priyarts and Lishim, what it was that Hashem was telling Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu shouldn't have crushed his dream. Korach had a great aspiration, and he never crushed someone's dream. There are a lot of people walking around with broken dreams, with broken hearts, and they don't try again. You know Rabbi Din Steinsaltz? They asked him, if he ever made any mistakes in his life. He said, I made lots of mistakes in my life. So what was the biggest mistake? He said, the biggest mistake that I made was I was afraid. It wasn't the mistakes that I made. The biggest mistake that I made was I didn't try to do certain things because I was afraid of failure. That was his biggest mistake. I didn't try to do certain things, I was afraid of failing. The difference between a dream and a vision is, a dream is about a specific thing. You want to, let's say you want to make a school. You have a dream to make a school. That's your dream, you want to make a school. And the dream doesn't have anything to do with reality. It has to do with something that you have a picture of. You picture something, nothing with reality. You want this thing. You're thinking about a certain thing. That's a dream. What's a vision? A vision is not a specific thing. A vision is about an ideal. So for example, a dream would be, I want to be a world-class orator that Torah classes inspire hundreds of thousands around the world. That's a dream. You want to be the guy who is able to impress everyone with his, dazzle everyone with his brilliance, and have everyone follow his teachings of Torah, and to inspire thousands of Jews around the world. That's a dream. What's a vision? A vision is, I want to be able to share the Torah with more people. That's a vision. You see the difference? The dream is about a specific thing, and nothing to do with reality. It's about some kind of far-off thing, and when the dream doesn't happen the way you want it to happen, what happens? You get crushed. I didn't see my dream. My dream wasn't fulfilled. I didn't get what I wanted. As opposed to a vision never gets destroyed. A vision is about an ideal. A vision is about, I want the Torah to be shared with. I want to share the Torah. You may not have the resources to be. You're not Yossi Jacobson. You are Chaim Yankel, and you're not a world-class orator. And it's just not for you. But doesn't mean that you can't do what you could do with the resources that you do have, and you can't fund someone who is able to do that, and you're not able to follow the path to where you need to be. So Hashem told Moshe, you cannot crush someone's dream. The world is full of many people that it's a shame. The world lost so much from people who have lost their dreams. They don't keep the same vision because their dreams were crushed. And Hashem told Moshe, you can't do that. You have to redirect someone. If a person has this far off dream and is not going the right way, so then you have to redirect them to make it more tangible. Like my grandfather, El Bashalom, he saw when I had an idea. He saw that I had a screw missing, and he said, "Okay, it's a good idea. Let's bring this down now. Let's see what can be done. Not what you want to do. Bring it down." So, but the problem with Moshe and Korach was Moshe recognized Korach was far off, but instead of crushing his dream, Moshe should redirected him. When you crush someone's dream, they can't do anything. Think about when you drive and you're using your GPS and you're going the wrong direction. Why does GPS system always never yell at you, never get impatient, take a right, turn on Main Street, right? It never gets upset. The right away just calibrates and says rerouting. Why does it do that? You know why it does it? Because it's connected above. It's connected above.
Satellite.
It's a satellite. It's connected above. Because it's connected above, it's always able to reroute. If you realize that the Eibishter, that Hashem is guiding you where you need to be in your life, then you're able to handle the changes that are going on. So Hashem says, you thought you're supposed to go this way, and it turns out that way was actually a dead end. Now let's just switch to a different direction. Are you crushed? No, because you have a vision. You have a vision. So it's true that Korach was off, but Hashem was telling Moshe, Ravlach, that's not the way you should have responded to him. And so there's two messages here. The first message of Ravlach, Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu was, you brought the Jews to Eretz Yisrael. Moshe said, I want to go further. I want to bring them into Eretz Yisrael. It's not enough to be the end. Hashem told Moshe, good news. Ravlach, you weren't meant to do that. You were meant to bring them to the 1 yard line and not to make the touchdown. That wasn't for you. And it's not a bad news, it's good news, because that's not what you're meant to do. That's not your job. And the second message of Ravlach is seemingly an opposite message. First of all, the first message is be happy with the mission Hashem has given you. The second message is keep your vision. Keep your vision and keep your dream, because your dream and your which is going to bring you to where you need to be. That's why it says Mashiach will come. What's going to happen? It says the nations of the world will then say, our mouths will be full of laughter, and we will say we were like dreamers. It doesn't just mean Mashiach will come to me happy. Mashiach will come. You know what's going to happen? We're going to look at the Bais Hamikdash. We're going to look at the light in the world, and we're going to see, and we're going to trace that back to a Monday night where we're learning Torah together, and we decide to stay a little longer, even though Rabbi Levin was going on and on and on. He made the Energizer Barney look like Duracell. And nevertheless, we stayed a little bit more, and with a little bit more Torah, and with a little bit more mitzvahs, and you're going to see how that created some light. Mashiach will come. See a little bit of energy that you put into you were dreaming. You were dreaming, and Mashiach comes. When you see how it looked like it nothing to do with reality. Today, the building that we're building, the third Bais Hamikdash, right now, looks like a dream. What does that have to do with now? And now we have hamburgers, and we have all kinds of stuff in our heads, and we went to one place. The coming of Mashiach, does that seem like it's happening tonight? And Mashiach comes, we're going to see that this dream that we had is a reality. And the goyim, the non-Jews, will say to us, wow, you guys did it. Look at that light. Look at that thing. Look at the Bais Hamikdash. It's all because of you guys. You gave tzedakah that day. Look at that. So there's that brick. You daven with more kavanah. Look at that brick. They're going to see how the whole coming of Mashiach was manifest because of what we did today. And we're going to answer them, indeed, Hashem has caused it to be great among us. Amazing things happened to us because we were happy that despite all the different darkness in the exile, we maintained our trust in Hashem. We knew that it was going to happen, and we followed our dream. We followed our vision towards the coming Mashiach. And this is, you see it by the Rebbe. The Rebbe incorporated in every certain kind of person this direction. The Rebbe spoke to scientists. The Rebbe spoke to engineers. The Rebbe spoke, for example, to Dr. Firestein, who dealt with special needs children. And he told them how he has to help these autistic children who everyone thought were hopeless. So why even deal with them? And they said, no, they have a role. They have a message. There's something they need to do in this world. And you got to bring out the best in them. It's all about the coming of Mashiach. And everyone's part of it. And everyone's doing something. And Hashem should help us all that we should, first of all, that we should be happy with the mission Hashem has given us. And realize this is the ladder of Hashem. This is the way to go towards the Yerushalayim, exactly the circumstances that Hashem has given us. At the same time, we should also, Ravlach, we should realize the incredible power of the mitzvahs, the Torah that we're doing, and invest in it, to put our hearts in it, and be happy about it, and should see the coming of Mashiach tonight. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim.